back, my dear students of class 10. We have already started with Act 4, Scene 1 of The Merchant of Venice, and we have already started with it, and in fact we have reached the main portion of the trial scene or the court scene, and we will deal with the climax as well. So in the previous video we have already discussed about how the Duke, Portia and others present in the court, they try to appeal Shylock to show mercy. So today, without much ado, we'll start with Shylock's speech that you have in page number 121 and line 245. So we shall begin with Shylock's speech from line number 245. Prior to Shylock's speech, Portia has asked Shylock to show mercy and to accept thrice of the actual amount and tear the bond, tear the agreement. To which Shylock replies, now let me read line number 245. Shylock, when it is paid according to the tenor. So when Portia requests or pleads Shylock to show mercy and to tear the bond or the agreement, Shylock, he says that I will tear the bond when it is paid according to the tenor. When I get what I want, when I get a pound of flesh, then only I am going to tear the contract. It doth appear, now this is line number 245. It doth appear you are a worthy judge. You know the law, your exposition. So Shylock here kind of praises and acknowledges Portia's skill, and he says that it seems you are a worthy judge. You are a learned judge and you know the law, and the exposition means you know the arguments and the explanation. Everything you are acquainted with had been most sound. I charge you by the law. It seems that the demand I have made is very strong, and I charge you by the law. And whatever demand and exposition you have made, they are very strong and they make sense. Whereof you are a well-deserving pillar. It seems that you are a well-deserving lawyer. Pillar means a support. Proceed to judgment, deliver the verdict. Proceed to deliver the judgment. By my soul, I swear, there is no power in the tongue of man to alter me. So here you will find Shylock is still now very obdurate, adamant and stubborn, and he says that you can proceed, you can deliver the verdict, you can announce the verdict, but I take an oath and swear that there is no power in the words of a man. Nothing can change that I have what I have in my heart. I stay here on my bond. That means I stick to my demand, and not a single word can melt my heart. Listening to this, Antonio, he replies, most heartily I do beseech the court to give the judgment. Antonio is totally helpless, and he has already given himself before Shylock's evil demand, and he says that I request the court to give the judgment without any delay. Then Portia replies to it, why then, thus it is. So be it, let the Jew have the judgment. You must prepare your bosom for his knife. Now, Antonio, you need to prepare your bosom, means you need to prepare your chest for Shylock's knife. Then Shylock, he replies, O noble judge, O excellent young man. Now Shylock is really elated after listening to Portia's response, and he says, O noble judge, O excellent young man. Then again Portia says, for the intent and purpose of the law hath full relation to the penalty, which here appeareth due upon the bond. So Portia says that as far as the scope and meaning of the Venetian law is concerned, hath full relation to the penalty, means this Venetian court, it fully authorizes Shylock of what he deserves. And here, according to the bond, what does Shylock deserve? What does Shylock has every right to get? That is the bond, that is the pound of flesh. So Portia says that Shylock has the legal right to get the agreement. Then Shylock is again very happy and jubilant, and he says, "'Tis very true, O wise and upright judge. You are very right, absolutely true. It's very true. You upright judgments, you impartial judge. How much more elder art thou than thy looks? You look so much experienced and mature head than your looks." Then Portia, she replies, "Therefore lay bare your bosom. Antonio, prepare your chest to be cut by Shylock's knife. Open your shirt, open your bosom. Be prepared." Shylock, his breast. Yes, it's what is mentioned is his breast. So says the bond, doth it not, noble judge? Isn't it the breast that this agreement has talked about? Isn't it, noble judge? Nearest his heart. That too, not only his bosom, not only his chest, but nearest his heart. Those are the very words mentioned in the bond, mentioned in the agreement. Portia, it is so. Yes, this is what is being mentioned in the bond. Are there balance here to weigh the flesh? If there is there a scale ready, kept ready in order to weigh a pound of Antonio's flesh? Then Shylock says, "I have them ready." Yes, I have already kept ready. The balance is already kept ready in order to weigh a pound of flesh. Then Portia, she says, "Have by some surgeon Shylock on your charge, to stop his wounds, lest he do bleed to death." Then Portia, after asking for a weigh or a balance, she further interrogates and she further queries regarding a surgeon, regarding a doctor. And she says, "Have by some surgeon or doctor, you will pay for the doctor and you will keep aside that surgeon ready to stop his wounds, to bind his wounds so that he do not bleed to death." So he doesn't bleed to death. So Portia, after asking for balance, he now asks for a surgeon so that Antonio does not bleed to death. Shylock replies, "Is it so nominated in the bond?" It's not written in the bond. It's not specified or mentioned in the bond. Then Portia says, "It is not so expressed, but what of that?" Yes, it's not explicitly or it's not written in the bond. But what of that? It were good you do so much of charity. It would be good if you show some act of mercy, some act of kindness or charity to Antonio. What if it's not mentioned, explicitly mentioned in the bond? At least you can have a surgeon nearby in order to make sure that Antonio would not die because of it. Then Shylock says, "I cannot find it. It's not in the bond." Shylock is not ready to accept it. He further adds that it's not mentioned in the bond. There is no mention about the surgeon in the bond so far. They have known. Then Portia, she says, "Come, merchant, have you anything to say?" Now Portia asks Antonio if he has got anything to say before a pound of flesh is being cut off from his heart. Then Antonio says, "But little." Yes, I have very little to say, not more, but a little to say. "I am armed and well prepared." That means he says that he is physically and spiritually armed, means he is totally ready, mentally ready. He is equipped with the strength, the spiritual and physical strength to die. "Give me your hand, Bassanio. Fare you well." Now Antonio, he bids farewell to Bassanio. "Grieve not that I am fallen to this for you." For herein, Antonio says that do not feel sad, do not get depressed that I have died for you. For their fortune shows herself more kind than in her custom. Here, Antonio refers to fortune. Fortune means the goddess of luck, the Lady Luck. So Antonio says at this time, Lady Luck or fortune has been kind to me than its usual habits, than usual. And he says, "It is still her use to let the wretched and man outlive his wealth, to view with hollow eye and wrinkled brow an age of poverty." Here, Antonio says that usually Lady Luck or the fortune makes a wretched, miserable, unhappy man live on even after the losses of wealth. But here in Antonio's case, he is going to die soon. Therefore, Antonio here says that he has been shown mercy by Lady Luck, by fortune, so that he won't be able to live long to see his poverty-stricken condition. Fortune has not allowed her, Lady Luck has not allowed Antonio to move, to keep on living to see his pathetic or totally poverty-stricken condition. So here he says that, so that his hollow eyes and wrinkled face, that means in his old age, so forth his poverty-stricken condition. That means in his old age, in his hollow eyes and wrinkled face, with this very features, with his old age, he won't be able to see his pathetic, miserable condition. That's why Lady Fortune has been kind to Antonio than usual. Why? Because he himself answers, an age of poverty from which lingering penance of such misery doth she cut me off. Antonio says that in my case, this Lady Luck or the fortune is letting me avoid, or or letting me go, or she has avoided me, she has spared me regarding this, spared me from this lingering punishments, lingering long suffering, or the prolonged suffering. So here you will find that Antonio is totally, in a wretched condition, because he has lost almost all his wealth. At the same time, he is about to lose his life. So he is pretty thankful to his Lady Luck by saying that this fortune has spared me from seeing the miserable condition ahead in my old age. Then he says, commend me to your honorable wife. Just give my greeting to your honorable wife and convey my regard and respect. Tell her the process of Antonio's end and make sure you tell her the entire story of mine. Say how I loved you, and just mention her how I loved you. Speak me fair in death. Speak well about me after my death. And when the tale is told, bid her be judged whether Bassanio had not once a lover. So when you finish telling my story to your wife, Bassanio, just ask her whether Antonio, or whether her husband Bassanio had once a true friend Antonio or not. Repent not you that you shall lose your friend. Just regret that. Repent not here means you must only regret that you have lost your one good friend, and he repents not that he pays your debt. And here Antonio says, I will not regret that, and I have no regrets for paying your debt. For if the Jew do cut it but deep enough, I'll pay it instantly with all my heart. So if the Jew cut it deep, then I will instantly pay all the debt by giving away my life to that Shylock. So here Antonio says that just give my regards to your wife and tell that once Bassanio had a true friend, and just regret not for losing a friend. And Antonio too, he says that I'll not regret for paying your debts and giving away my life. After listening to this final speech of Antonio, Bassanio, he remarks again, and he says, Antonio, I am married to a wife which is dear to me as a life itself. My friend Antonio, I am married to a wife and who is very precious to me, just exactly like my life. But my life itself, my wife, and all the entire world are not with me esteemed above thy life. Here, Bassanio, we find that the true friendship between Antonio and Bassanio could not be measured by anything, even by the love that Bassanio had for his wife, Portia. So much so that Bassanio here says that my wife, my life itself, and the entire world, they are not valuable as your life. I would lose all. I'm ready to lose everything I have with me right now, my life, the entire world, and even my precious wife for you. I'll sacrifice them all. I'll lose them all. Here to the devil to deliver you. I will surrender and sacrifice everything to you just to deliver you from the clutches of this devil, Shylock. Then Portia, she remarks, and She tries to, mock or rebuke, in fact, in a humorous way after listening this. So Portia says, your wife would give you little thanks for that if she were by to hear you make the offer. Your wife would not be happy if she would have listened it, if she would have been present over here, making you here, making you this kind of offer. You are like making an offer to sacrifice your wife too. I hope she would not be happy when she would have heard this thing from your mouth. Then Gratiano too adds to this, and he says, I have a wife whom I protest I love. And Gratiano says that I too have a wife, and I swear I love her like anything. I would she were in heaven, so she could entreat some power to change this scourge Jew. So Gratiano here makes another important, although funny but profound one, when he says that I wish my wife were in heaven, so that she could invoke or request or persuade some power, some heavenly power, or some god to change the heart of this scourge Jew. Means dog-like, vile, vicious, malicious Jew. Then Nerissa again, she adds a bit of humor here. She says, "'Tis well you offer it behind her back. It's better that you are offering this behind your wife's back in her absence. The witch should make else an unquiet house. Or else if she would have heard it, then there might have been a quarrel between you. Your marital status would be in a trouble." Then Shylock says, these be the Christian husbands. That means, so this is what these Christian husbands have to say about their wives. Now he is referring to Bassanio and Gratiano. Then Shylock here, after a long gap, he refers to his daughter. And he says, I have a daughter. Would any of the stock of Barabbas have been her husband rather than a Christian? Shylock here does not like her daughter being married to a Christian Lorenzo. So here he says that I wish my daughter Jessica would have married the descendants of Barabba. Barabba is considered to be a notorious criminal, a well-known thief, a vile thief. I wish my daughter would have married to the descendants of that Barabba, that criminal's descendant, rather than or instead of marrying a Christian Lorenzo. We trifle time. I was just, wasting time. I pray thee pursue sentence. I request you to announce the verdict as soon as possible. Then Portia, she replies, a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine. A pound of that same merchant's, Antonio's flesh is thine, means yours. The court awards it, and the law doth gives it to you as well. Then Shylock says, most rightful judge, most upright and righteous and just lawyer. Portia, then she says, that is page number 125, and you must cut this flesh from his breast. That is already mentioned in the bond, that a pound of flesh has to be cut from nearest of Antonio's heart. The law allows it and the court awards it. Yes, the law awards it and even the court allows it to you. Shylock, most learned judge. Yes, a sentence, a judgment, come, prepare. Shylock is very happy after hearing Portia's response, and she says that yes, a judgment, come, prepare, Antonio. Then Portia, she says, tarry a little. That means wait a moment, Shylock, before cutting a pound of flesh. There is something else. This is very, very important. I request you all to underline this Portia's speech. This bond doth give thee here no jot of blood. But as per the bond, there is no mention about a drop of blood. The bond does not give you any right to get even a single drop of blood. The words expressly are a pound of flesh. The words mentioned in the bond is simply the pound of flesh. The mention of blood is nowhere to be seen in the bond. There, in fact, nothing is mentioned about blood in the bond, simply a pound of flesh. So Shylock does not have any right to get even a single drop of blood as per the bond. The word expressly are a pound of flesh. Take then thy bond, take thou thy pound of flesh. Then Portia says, take your bond, take a pound of flesh. That is the penalty or the forfeiture Antonio is supposed to pay. But this is very, very important. This is when the tables are turned and Shylock loses the case. So this is very important line. Take then thy bond, take thou thy pound of flesh, but while in the process of cutting the pound of flesh, if thou dost shed one drop of Christian blood, thy lands and goods are by the laws of Venice confiscated unto the state of Venice. So Portia, she makes a very important point over here, and she says that while cutting off the flesh, if you drop if you drop a single blood, one drop of Christian blood, then your lands and your goods and property will be confiscated by the Venetian law and will taken and will given to the state of Venice. So Shylock, according to the bond, has no right to get even a single drop of blood. What was only mentioned in the bond? A pound of flesh. So that exactly 1 pound of flesh is to be cut and nothing more than that. Then Gratiano, after hearing this argument, he says, "O upright judge, mark Jew," means pay attention Jew, pay attention Shylock, "O learned judge." Then Shylock says, "Is that the law? Is that what is written in the law?" Portia, she responds back and says, "Thyself shall see the acts. You can see yourself the law. For as thou urgest justice, because you are so far urging that and demanding the justice, be assured now thou shalt have justice. Be confident that you will get what you demand, no more than thou desirest. Nothing or no more than what you desire. You will get exactly what you have demanded for." Gratiano, "O learned judge." Again he repeats the same line and he says, "O learned judge, mark you, pay attention to what that lawyer is telling you, a learned judge." Then Shylock says, "Okay, I take this offer then, pay the bond thrice and let the Christian go." Then Shylock says that, okay, I'll agree with it, what you say. Give me thrice the actual amount, or 3 times the amount of the loan, that is 3 times of 3,000 ducats, and let this Christian Antonio go. I'll take that thrice of the actual money. Then Portia again says, Bassanio says, "Here is the money." Then Portia says in page number 126, "Soft, wait, the Jews shall have all justice." Soft, the Jews shall have only justice, no money right now. Wait, no haste, means do not hurry, do not rush. He shall have nothing but the penalty. Shylock is not going to have anything except for what he has demanded so far. That is the penalty or the forfeiture of Antonio's pound of flesh. Then Gratiano says, "O Jew and upright Jew, a learned judge." Portia, "Therefore prepare thee to cut up the flesh, shed thou no blood." So Portia says that, "Jew, you need to be prepared yourself, or you need to prepare yourself to cut off the flesh, but remember that, consider that there should be no blood, nor cut thou less nor more. And when you cut the pound of flesh, it should be exact a pound and not more or less than that. But just a pound of flesh, that is just exact a pound of flesh. If thou cut more or less than just a pound, be it but so much as it makes it light or heavy in the substance." So here Portia says that the pound of flesh should be exact. If the balance moves a little up or down because of a slightest fraction of weight, or the division of the 20th part, that means even the balance moves or it is unequal because of the minute weight, tiniest fraction of one poor scruple, nay, if the scale do turn, but in the estimation of her, and here Portia says, even the scale, if they do turn up and down because of the tiniest fraction, poor scruple means even by the smallest unit of weight, in the estimation of hair means even if the scale moves up and down, even by a single breadth of hair, even it moves slightly down by a single breadth of hair, then thou diest, you will die, and all thy goods are confiscated. You will be killed, and certainly your property will be confiscated, will be taken away. Gratiano becomes too much happy after listening this, and he says, a second Daniel, a Daniel Jew. Earlier, you remember, children, that Shylock had called Portia a Daniel. Daniel means a wise and a just king. So again, here Gratiano refers to the same Shylock's remarks, and he taunts Shylock by saying that a second Daniel has come. Now, infidel, I have thee on the hip. Now, infidel means you non-Christian, I have thee on the hip means now I have you in the trap. In fact, I have you in your own trap. Portia, why doth the Jew pause? Take thy forfeiture. You Jew, why are you not doing, or you are not cutting the pound of flesh? Why are you stopping yourself from doing so? Take your forfeiture. Take what you demand for. Shylock then says, give me my principal. Earlier he was asking for twice of the amount, but right now he settles to the original one, and he says that give my 3,000 ducats and let me go. Bassanio says, I have it ready for thee, here it is, take your 3,000 ducats. Then again Portia intervenes and she stops Bassanio from doing so. And she says he hath refused it in the open court. Earlier, Shylock has totally refused to take the amount in the court publicly. He shall have merely justice and his bond. Since he has already publicly denied to take the amount, now he shall have nothing but the justice, and the justice is to take his bond. Gratiano again he adds to it, and he says, a Daniel, still say a second Daniel. I thank thee, Jew, for teaching me that word. Why? Because I have already mentioned that Shylock has referred about Daniel, and Gratiano too has heard Shylock speak about him. Then he says that, yes, Shylock, and I thank you for teaching me or giving me the idea about the king Daniel, so that I am using it in your own context. Shylock, he says, now we'll start from page number 127, that is line number 355. Shall I not have barely my principal? Am I not going to get my principal also, the main 3,000 ducats also? Then Portia says, thou shalt have nothing but the forfeiture to be so taken at the peril, Jew. You will have only the forfeiture, you will have only the penalty. That should be taken at your risk, at the cost of your own life. Because it is impossible to cut or take out a pound of flesh, firstly, without shedding a single drop of blood, and it is impossible to cut exact pound of flesh. Therefore, Shylock has fallen into his own trap, and there is no way to escape and get his money back. Then Shylock, he says, why? Then the devil gave him good of it. I'll stay no longer Christian. So let the devil come and take the flesh. Let the devil come and take his flesh. I'm not going to kill anyone. I'll stay no longer here. I'm not going to stay here to argue or answer to anyone over here. Let me go. I'm not going to kill him. Let the devil come and kill himself. Then Portia is in no mood to let Shylock go or exit so easily. She says, tarry, Jew, means wait, Jew. The law hath yet another hold on you. The Venetian law has another blame on you. It is enacted in the laws of Venice. I urge you all to underline this speech as well. She says that it is written in the laws of Venice, if it proved direct or indirect attempts if it be proved against an alien that by direct or indirect attempts he seek the life of any citizen. So Portia says that if any foreigner or non-Venetian, alien means a non-Venetian, if they try to harm or if they try to seek life of the citizen of Venice directly or indirectly, the party against the which he doth contrive shall seize one of his goods. The person against whom the non-Venetian has conspired against, that party will get the half the good of half his goods, and the other half comes to the privy coffer of the state, and the other half will be given to the state of Venice, and the offender's life lies in the mercy of the dukes against all other voice. So here Portia raises one of the important points, legal points over here. She says that if any non-Venetian or any alien or the non-citizen of Venice, if they try to plot or kill any Venetian citizen, then directly or indirectly, then half of the goods of that non-Venetian, half of his goods will be given to the person whom he has tried to conspire against, and half will be given to the state. Then she says, and as far as the life is concerned, the life will be laid in the mercy of the duke. In which predicament I say thou stands, for it appears by manifest proceedings. Here she says that nobody else can show mercy right now as per the proceedings right now, and it is a very difficult situation for you, and there is a clear evidence. Manifest proceeding means clear evidence from what has happened. So far, you being a non-Venetian has tried to plot against the citizen of Venice, that is Antonio. So it is a clear, there is a clear evidence regarding this. Everyone knows that what has happened. So there is no way for you to escape from this difficult situation, because you have tried to kill or plot against a Venetian citizen. That indirectly and directly too thou hast contrived against the very life of the defendant. Now who is the defendant over here? Antonio. So Portia says that you have tried directly or indirectly to contrive, means to plot and kill Antonio, and thou hast incurred the danger of formerly by me rehearsed. Down therefore and beg mercy for the duke. So you have tried to take life of Antonio, and you have attracted punishment, and you deserve punishment as per the Venetian law, and down therefore beg mercy of the duke. Now because half of the goods will be given to Antonio and half will be confiscated by the state. Now as far as your life is concerned, just be down before the duke and ask him to spare your life. Gratiano says, now Gratiano mocks at Shylock, and he says, beg that thou mayst have leave to hang thyself. Just beg that, just beg to be allowed, or beg to have the permission to hang yourself. And yet thy well-being forfeit to the state, thou hast not left the value of a cord. So since Gratiano here says that since no option is left rather than to hang yourself, since your wealth is being taken away by the state, you will be left with no money to buy a rope. Therefore, thou must be hanged at the state's charge. So here Gratiano mocks and makes fun of Shylock by saying that you don't need to beg for mercy before the duke, but you can take a permission to hang yourself right at this present scenario. And as far as we are concerned, since your money will be taken by the state, and you will be left with none to buy a rope also, so you will be hanged at the expense of the state. Then the duke says here that thou shalt see the difference of a spirit. I pardon thee thy life before thou ask it. But duke is very merciful, and he says that there is a difference between being a Jew and a Christian. So I'm going to explicitly show the difference, and before you beg me for your life, I am going to pardon your mistake. And he says, for half the wealth it is Antonio's. Now Duke further adds that half of your wealth is now Antonio's, and the other half comes to the general state, and the other half of your wealth will be given to the government of Venice, which humbleness may drive unto a fine. However, the Duke says that if you show humility, this may reduce, or I may reduce this penalty to a fine. Yes, if you are humble enough, then ask for humility. If you are, humble enough and you display humility, then I can reduce the penalty into a simple fine. Then Portia says, A for the state, not for Antonio. Yes, you can reduce the fine for the state itself, but half cannot be reduced for Antonio. He has to pay what he has to Antonio. Okay, for this, as far as this act is concerned, it is pretty long. So we will stop here at page number 128. In the next video, we shall continue with Shylock's speech from the same page 128. So we will stop over here in line number 385 of page number 128.